What if I told you there was a fighter jet so fast, so futuristic, that its own pilots called it the missile with a man in it? An aircraft that didn't just break world records for speed, altitude, and climb rate, it completely shattered them. Now, what if I told you that same jet was known by a much darker, more chilling name? The Widowmaker. This is the story of the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, a marvel of Cold War engineering, and one of the most controversial aircraft ever to take to the skies. It was a machine of incredible extremes, a breathtaking performer that promised air superiority, but also a demanding and unforgiving beast that claimed the lives of hundreds of pilots. How could one aircraft be both a celebrated record breaker and a feared killer? Stick around as we peel back the layers on the jet that shot for the stars, but all too often fell tragically back to Earth. To understand the Starfighter, we have to go back to the early 1950 seconds and the freezing skies over Korea. American pilots in their F-86 Sabres were locked in deadly dogfights with the nimble, high-climbing Soviet-made MiG-15. While the Sabre was a capable fighter, the pilots returning from the front lines had a clear and urgent message for aircraft designers. We need more speed, more altitude, and a faster climb rate to intercept high-flying Soviet bombers before they could ever reach their targets. That call was answered by one of aviation's greatest minds, Clarence Kelly Johnson, the legendary head of Lockheed's secretive Skunk Works. Johnson didn't just listen to the pilots. He built a plane around their feedback. They didn't need a jack-of-all-trades. They needed a thoroughbred, a lightweight, no-frills interceptor designed for one thing and one thing only: pure, unadulterated performance. His vision was radical. He wanted to build the fastest, highest-flying fighter jet the world had ever seen. The result was the F-104 Starfighter. A design so bold and unconventional, it looked like something straight out of science fiction. It was, in essence, a massive, powerful engine with a tiny cockpit and razor-thin wings attached. The goal was brutally simple: get to the target faster than anything else in the sky. The design philosophy of the F-104 was all about minimizing drag and maximizing thrust. The most striking and controversial feature was its wings. They were shockingly thin. With a leading edge so sharp, it had to be covered with a protective guard on the ground to prevent injuries to the crew. With a span of less than 22 feet, they were more like fins on a missile than wings on a jet. This unique design worked brilliantly at supersonic speeds, allowing the Starfighter to slice through the air with minimal resistance, but it created significant problems at lower speeds. Powering this machine was the legendary General Electric J-79 turbojet engine. This was a technological marvel of its time, a beast of an engine that, with its afterburner engaged, could push the F-104 to speeds over twice the speed of sound, or Mach 2. The combination of this powerhouse engine and the super-slick airframe gave the Starfighter a phenomenal rate of climb. It could literally go vertical like a rocket, leaving other contemporary jets far below. Another key design feature was its tail, which placed the horizontal stabilizers high up on the vertical fin to keep them out of the turbulent air, or wing wash, at high speeds. But these revolutionary design choices came with a steep price. The tiny wings generated very little lift at low speeds, making takeoffs and landings incredibly fast and dangerous. There was almost no margin for error. Let's break down the jaw-dropping numbers on this incredible machine. The F-104G model, one of the most common variants, was just over 54 feet long, but had that tiny wingspan of only 21 feet, 9 inches. To put that in perspective, its wingspan was shorter than a modern city bus is long. It was powered by that single General Electric J-79 afterburning turbojet, which produced over 15,600 pounds of thrust. This power plant rocketed the Starfighter to a top speed of 1,528 miles per hour, or Mach 2.2 at altitude. Its service ceiling was 60,000 feet, but it could climb much higher in a zoom climb, setting a world altitude record of over 103,000 feet in 1959. It also held the world speed record and multiple time-to-climb records simultaneously, a feat unmatched by any other aircraft. However, its combat range was only around 420 miles, reinforcing its role as a point defense interceptor, not a long-range patrol fighter. Every single specification was optimized for one mission profile: take off, climb like a bat out of hell, destroy a bomber, and get back to base. As a pure interceptor, the F-104's main internal weapon was the 20mm M61 Vulcan cannon. This six-barreled Gatling gun was a revolution in itself, capable of firing 6,000 rounds per minute. It could shred an enemy aircraft with a devastatingly short burst. But the Starfighter was also designed to carry the new wonder weapons of the era: air-to-air missiles. It could be equipped with two AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, typically mounted on the wingtips. This heat-seeking missile was a game-changer, allowing pilots to engage targets from several miles away without ever entering a turning dogfight. As the F-104's role evolved, it was adapted into a fighter bomber. It could carry a payload of up to 4,000 pounds of ordnance on underwing and fuselage pylons, including conventional bombs, rocket pods, and even tactical nuclear weapons like the B-43 thermonuclear bomb. This added versatility made it extremely attractive to Allied nations who needed a single aircraft to perform multiple roles, a decision that would later have tragic consequences. While the United States Air Force only used the Phone 104 inches limited numbers, and for a relatively short time, the Starfighter found widespread fame and infamy abroad. It became a cornerstone of many NATO air forces during the height of the Cold War, marketed as the Super Starfighter. West Germany became by far the largest operator, acquiring over 900 Starfighters to form the backbone of the modern Luftwaffe. Other major users included Canada, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, Japan, and Taiwan. For these nations, the F-104 represented a massive leap in technological capability. It was a frontline deterrent against the vast air armies of the Warsaw Pact. In total, over 2,500 Starfighters were built. While it saw limited combat with the USAF in Vietnam, its primary role was as a sentinel on the front lines in Europe, ready at a moment's notice to scramble and intercept Soviet bombers. However, it was in this widespread European service, under very different skies and in a very different role than intended, that its dark side truly emerged. Here, we must confront the F-104's tragic legacy. Its strengths were undeniable: unmatched speed, acceleration, and climb rate. In a straight-line dash, it was virtually untouchable. However, its weaknesses were just as extreme. Those tiny wings, so brilliant at Mach 2, were a massive liability in a turning dogfight. The F-104 had a massive turning circle and would bleed off speed and energy rapidly in any sustained turn. Its low-speed handling was notoriously poor, and its landing speed was dangerously high, often over 200 miles per hour, requiring long runways and nerves of steel. These flaws were tragically exposed in West German service. The Luftwaffe pressed the Starfighter into service as a low-level, all-weather, nuclear-capable fighter-bomber, a role it was never originally designed for. Flying fast and low in the notoriously bad weather of Northern Europe, the demanding jet became incredibly unforgiving. The result was a catastrophic accident rate. Nearly 30% of Germany's Phone 104 seconds were lost in accidents, claiming the lives of 116 pilots and earning it the grim nickname Widowmaker, or Widowmaker. The crisis sparked a political firestorm in Germany and forever tarnished the Starfighter's reputation. So, how did the Starfighter stack up against its key rivals? Its main Soviet counterpart was the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-21 Fishbed. Both were Mach 2 fighters, but they were built on different philosophies. The F-104 was faster in a straight line and could climb higher, a better drag racer. But the MiG-21, with its classic delta wing, was far more maneuverable and a vastly superior aircraft in a close-quarters dogfight. In Europe, its main rival was the French Dassault Mirage 3. The Mirage was a beautiful and highly capable multi-role fighter. It couldn't match the F-104's raw speed or climb rate, but it was a much more balanced and forgiving aircraft to fly, excelling in both interception and ground attack roles. The F-104 was a specialist, a scalpel in an era when air forces were starting to look for a multi-purpose Swiss Army knife. So, how could one plane be both a record-breaking icon and a feared Widowmaker? The answer lies in its design philosophy of pure, uncompromised performance. Kelly Johnson set out to build the fastest and highest-flying jet possible, and he succeeded beyond all expectations. It was a technological triumph that pushed the very boundaries of aviation. But that single-minded focus on speed came at the cost of handling, safety, and versatility. The F-104 demanded absolute perfection from its pilots. It was a thoroughbred that would viciously punish any mistake. When used as intended, a high-altitude interceptor in clear skies, it was magnificent, but when it was forced into a role it wasn't designed for, flying low in difficult conditions, its razor-thin margins for error vanished. The Starfighter stands as a powerful and tragic lesson in military aviation, that an aircraft's greatest strengths can also be its most fatal flaws, and that the line between a wonder weapon and a Widowmaker can be as thin as the edge of a Starfighter's wing. What do you think? Was the F-104 a brilliant but misunderstood masterpiece, or a fatally flawed design? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into aviation history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Until next time, fly safe.